So we should be live, but I'm still going to do that sanity check, to just make sure that we're live.
There's a live button.
Yeah. According to the streaming thing, we should be live. But Natalie Schrugel is live right now. And yeah, we're live. Great. We are live.
Nice.
Great. So I'm just gonna dive in, and then people are just gonna join us, but we can just start.
Okay.
Oh, somebody's bringing a comment. Hi Krishna. Nice to have you join us. And thanks for writing a comment, so we know that we are live. That's amazing. And Sebastian and I will just kick off the conversation and then see what happens and see how many people are going to join in. For those who don't know me, my name is Natalie Schrugel. I'm the founder of the Interface Leadership, a company that is busy helping leaders connect better with their people. And when the leaders are able to connect better with their people, they're definitely cultivating leadership cultures that encourage people to be productive, to be innovative, and even bring their authentic selves to work. And I'm so excited to have Sebastian Thull today here. He is going to talk to us about navigating difficult conversations, a very important topic, especially in today's world where we are really not sure what's going to happen, the pandemic and how the business landscape is developing. So it's really a pleasure to have you here, Sebastian, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for this nice, kind words. I'm Sebastian. I'm from Berlin, Germany, and I'm a former social worker. I used to work as a street worker in Berlin, and also worked for almost 2 years in South Africa in different townships in Durban and close to Plettenberg Bay. And during my time working as a street worker in Berlin, I asked myself a lot, how do I deal with tough conversations, and like what are the factors of how do I deal with tough conversations? And with that in mind, I established with my business partner Paul a company called Active Workshops, where we try to create a room where people can have in a safe place make experience and learn how to navigate tough conversations or different kinds of topics. And these are interactive, customized educational films in the environment of blended learning, and we do it for companies, NGOs, and so on. And we believe as a company that future skills will be very important in the next couple of years. And for us, future skills are mostly social skills, like for social coexistence, how to deal with each other, because this will be more and more in focus for the next following years, because we will always be human, and digitization will help us with some other stuff, but we always have to communicate with each other. And I also have a podcast. It's in German. It's called Ich sehe was du nicht siehst. It's, when you translate it in English, it's like seeing what others don't see. And it's I will write very nice guests, and they talk about dealing or making decisions in tough situations. And I also teach in university or in companies, and my main topics is navigating through tough conversations and emotional intelligence. Yeah. So that's
Wow.
Yeah, that's me.
You are busy. You are so busy.
Yes.
So let me try to get this. Let me try to get this together. So you worked in Berlin as a street worker. And then you worked 2 years in South Africa, and then you created a company that focuses centrally only on emotional intelligence, workshops and teaching people and teaching organizations how to really navigate tough conversations. And then you also a podcast host and addressing topics. Okay, great.
And
All
yes,
right.
that's right. We do it, and the teach. We do the teaching over like the interactive, customized educational films, because
Okay, great.
I
Thank you
think
so much.
it's nice to have something visual and to tell a story. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction, Sebastian. And I think we're really great in time. So I just want to acknowledge our viewers. We have Krishna who is signing in, and then we have Sunday Gesham who says, "Hi Natalie, glad to see you." Sheila is joining us today. She's also joining in, and then we've got says that's a lot of stuff that you do. And then we have Ayn. Hi, Ayn. Great to see you. And Lakshay, hi, brother. I hope you're fine. And okay, so let's start with the first point, Sebastian. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Before we start, or before we go into the topic, I want to start with a story, and or with a story.
Hello, are you still there? Are you still Sebastian? Because I can't hear you. Hello. Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Sebastian?
Natalie?
Yes,
okay.
We got you back. We lost you back again.
Okay, sorry. It was somehow disconnected. Or yeah. So okay, I start again. I was sitting with my colleague, being a street worker in February together, and we had to make a very profound decision. We had to decide that we don't give out to everyone any more food on the streets, and we just focus on actually our vision, supporting and helping kids and young adults and giving them food out. So you can imagine being a very tough decision, because it was very cold. It was one of the coldest winter I remember on the streets, and having this conversation about, okay, when we make the decision, the consequence will be we will have a lot of tough conversation, because after a while we will have a tough conversation. And I want to show on this example, or I want to share the principles I learned when we started putting the rule through and on how to deal with tough conversations. So the first one is being human. Starts with you. So back to the story. When we decided in February to make this decision and put the rule through, we were already working 6 months. So we were afraid. Actually, I was afraid of the conflict. I knew, okay, when we put this rule through, we have to have a lot of tough conversations, and I realized, okay, and we tried a lot of other stuff. This was actually, we tried everything not to avoid this conflict of like saying, okay, the people who we want to try to reach, like the kids and the young adults, they can come the first half an hour, and then afterwards everyone can come. But it didn't work because of different factors, like I think the young people were too afraid, or didn't feel welcome and was too scared to come. So the first thing was being human. It starts with you. Is self-awareness. Is the first step of dealing with tough conversation, because it always starts with you. You have to look in the mirror and say, okay, why I'm afraid of the conflict, to deal with your own emotions, also the perspective on conflicts. Are conflicts for you positive or negative? It's just being a part of human that we have conflicts, and also thinking of your weakness and your strength, and also this just putting this into perspective that you that is always starts with you, and it's your responsibility. And I have to say, I'm not really the conflict guy. I'm really actually, I want to run away from conflicts, but realizing that and also saying, okay, now we have to, when I want to reach my vision of helping young people, if I want to help young adults, I have to go through this conflict to tell the other persons there's different opportunities to grow. And I think this was really key. Just being self-aware, self-reflecting on myself, and really, really finding out about emotions, and because then you can also deal with better with other emotions. And it was the first step. Yeah.
So you're basically saying, so the most important thing is to be self-aware,
Yeah.
to really know yourself and understand your strengths and your weaknesses in when you are in a difficult situation, or before you get into a difficult conversation. So if I'm just trying to think about how to translate that into the leadership world, right? So if you look at so many organizations, or if you are in a position where you're leading people, you always go, it's never easy to have different people. Everyone has got their own perspective, everyone has got their own ideas, and you always have different voices in organizations, right? And sometimes it can be difficult to put all these voices together, to blend them together, and it makes a lot of sense to know how to deal with those difficult conversations as they arise and as they come. So the point that you've given is quite important. I mean, to be very aware of yourself as a leader, to know how do you communicate, how do you speak, and who are you speaking to, and also being aware of your bias in such a particular situation.
Yeah.
So I think a very, very fundamental point before having that conversation.
Yeah. And also asking yourself the question, how do I want to deal with conflicts? Is it, do I want to push, or do I want to have a peaceful way? And actually, I think the main question is, how do I want to deal with other humans? And I think that's the basic of the whole being human. It starts with you. I think, how do I want to treat somebody else, and how do I want to get into how do I want to live with other humans, other people? And I think that's the and yeah.
Okay, because it actually makes a lot of sense, because sometimes we normally forget a lot, right? People like, okay, right now I am in this particular position, and sometimes leaders use the positions and really you use a position as a form of how do you say that, using a position as a key to actually just treat people the way you are, right?
I think people don't listen to the position. They listen to you when you are a human. And like I realized that when I worked in South Africa, there are certain perspectives on white social workers, and I realized it's good to break the ideas and just show them I'm also a human being like you, and we can connect on one level. And it helps to understand humans when you dive into their culture. And I started playing like in a football club in the townships. I was the only white guy playing in this club, but the connection we had was really good, and I learned a lot from them, because we connected as humans, or not in different positions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Meeting people where they're supposed to be met, or where they need to be met, that's also fundamental, actually. Great. So you've talked about being self-aware. You've talked about meeting people where they're supposed to be met, or where they need to be met, and overlooking and really seeing the human part of people when going into such conversations.
Yeah.
Have I forgotten anything?
So, excuse me?
Have I forgotten anything?
No, no.
Great, great. So I'm going to look into the comments and see what our audience is saying. Well, Sunday wrote that you probably had poor network when you discussed a few minutes ago. And then we have Mayowa joining us as well. So thank you all for being there. And I think we are really in good times. The next point, the willingness to comprehend is the key to building trust.
Yes. So you can imagine with our decision, the consequence was on a weekly basis, tough conversation, because we had, for 6 months, we gave out the food to everyone, and now we made the new rule, just food to people under 27. So for myself, when I'm hungry, I'm not really nice, and not really nice. And the same happens when you give somebody else not food. And there's also other factors like drugs or alcohol and stuff like that. And I learned that every human being wants to be acknowledged, want to have appreciation, being important, or want to have meaning in life. And I would start with the first two, acknowledgement and appreciation. Everyone wants the feeling of being right, or wants appreciation of their position. And sometimes you cannot tell somebody that they are right, because it doesn't work. I couldn't tell my clients or the people on the bus that they are right, that they thought they have the right to get the food. And I said, no, we changed our rules. So I could not say you are right, but I could appreciate their position. And I think what really helps is accepting how people see the world, and don't say your world is wrong. It's just different. I think it's very important that you don't have the mindset of, my point of view is the only one. It's because just you are the only person with that view, and just accepting that there are also other perspectives, and trying to deal with that, and also being important and having meaning. I think everyone in life, every person wants to be seen and taken seriously. And I think really asking questions, I think that's so important, and listen to what they have to say, and just ask also for opinion, for expertise. Like I had one situation. There was one guy. He lived for quite a while on the streets, and I think he was not a big fan of myself, and he didn't talk at all to me. But it was important to get in contact, because he knew a lot of other people. So it's like sometimes street work and business is always the same. It's also about networking. So I had at that moment, I had really a tough conversation, and I saw that he was watching me and what I'm doing. And then a few days later, I asked him about the situation, and I give him expertise. I said, okay, you lived longer on the streets than myself, and have seen everything. What have you done? What have you done in this situation? Can you give me some advice? And he told me, he gave me some feedback, and I said, yeah, you know, when I have another question, can I come back to you? And after that moment, we were not best friends, but he was starting talking to me because I gave him I give him a meeting, and I give him an important I give him a meeting that he is important to me, and I respect his expertise and opinion. And also, it also starts with small things like some people were actually complaining over the food we had. So the first impression or the first emotional reaction could be, why are they complaining? Because they should be happy that they have food, getting food. And but we took the credit, like the complaints over the food seriously, and asked them, okay, what do you need? Which food do you like? And it it helped to give them a lot of importance and meaning. And yeah, so I think acknowledgement and appreciation being important and having meaning is one of the key keys to also to understand the other person and to build trust. Because when you start acknowledging somebody else, just giving meaning. And like you can imagine that I worked with different guys who were also criminal, and I have one example in mind. His name was actually also, his nickname was Gangster. So he was really a gangster, and he was like 2 meter high, and he was dealing with drugs and was also very violent. But I liked him. And how can you say you like somebody like him? Because you have to separate the person and the behavior. That's very important. That's key. Separating the person and the behavior, because I believe that you can find in every person something lovable or lovely. That there's sometimes you really have to dig deep and to find something, to find where you think, oh, that's nice that they have it, and then you can say, okay, listen, I don't like what you do, I don't like your behavior, but I like you as a person. And it helps to put this into perspective. And you can also, it helps you to react also to their behavior. Maybe you have a better understanding, the willingness to understand. You have a better understanding of the person. And I think, like maybe for leaders, it's like when you have a worker who has a very bad day and is just rude to you. I think it helps when you know that he has problems at home, or he didn't get promoted, something like that. You can separate, and the behavior is not good, but you can separate the behavior from the person. I think that's very, very important, because you don't you understand. Also, like, I think everyone understands when you were hoping for a promotion for a couple of years maybe, and you don't get them, that you are like be frustrated. And so
Sebastian, you've really talked about a lot of things. The things are really standing out for me right now. And the one thing that's really standing out for me right now is the willingness. You talked about the willingness to understand the other person's situation. Because in most cases, when you're going into a difficult conversation, you always find that most people, they do have their own opinion about the situation, and there's absolutely no willingness to try and understand the other side, right? So you walk into that conversation with your own judgment. You've already thought about it, you're going about the whole situation, and there is no way such a conversation can be held in a civil way, that actually adds value to both parties. And that's why what you really said about the willingness, walking in there knowing I am trying to understand where this person is coming from, why I
Yeah.
or why does this hurt? Why is hurtful for them? So that's one thing that really stood out for me: the willingness to understand, and then asking the right questions as well. So asking the right questions as to be able to get people to really open up to you, to really talk to you, and tell you what is it that is really hurting them, or what is it that is causing the situation it is. And I believe if you're on the part of asking questions, you really have to be open to answers that you may not even be able to hear, So you may
Yeah.
you have to be open to all answers. And I know it's so difficult as humans to just really go into such a conversation without judgment. But in such cases, it always makes a lot of sense to really try to, as you say, separate the topic from the person. And also the last thing, the last part, especially for us leaders, the people in our teams, or the people who we've been blessed to lead, they go families and they go lives outside our companies and outside our organizations. And sometimes, as much as people try to separate that, to separate work and private life, there comes a time when you just can't really, both worlds collide. And I think that is the point as a leader where you really have to show your human side and really understand, okay, it is a moment right now that people are going through a tough time. And the tough time that they're going through at home has got absolutely nothing to do with how they really perform, and kind of grace. Great. And let me see if I've forgotten something. You also talked about there is always something lovely in every single person inherently. I am a great believer of that. That's why I normally talk a lot about thrive with diversity. I say it really doesn't matter what diversity you have. It doesn't matter how different you are. We all have something beautiful.
Yeah.
And it really takes being put in the right environments that we can also thrive. So I'm with you on that one. Absolutely with you on that. So I'm going to jump into the comments and see who's joined us and what our audience is saying. We got Paul. Paul joined us in. Thank you for joining, Paul. Hello. And we got Kinka. He also says hello. So we don't yet. So if you're watching this and if you do have any questions, please feel free to write in the comments, and Sebastian and I will answer them as best as we can. Okay, so I guess we are moving on to believing in opportunities and for yourself and for others.
Yes. It's I didn't have a better title, but I will explain it. The story, like for me, I think there are always persons or situations which pushes your button and shows you where to work on. And for me, it was the conflict and the bus situation, like getting like really, I go into the conflict, and sometimes we think, why is this person in my life? Why do I have this situation? I believe that sometimes some people are there for a reason, to push your buttons and show you where you have to work on. And the thing is, that's why I said for yourself and others, because you also, just remember, you are also for other person the opportunity to grow. So we actually so you have persons in your life which you think, oh man, I really have to deal with them and they push my buttons, but we are also person in some other person's life where we push their buttons. So just I think just seeing it as a process of learning, like every lifelong learning, and starting with like small topics. You don't have to start with like 5 big topics, just with small ones. Like just really I just told you, also listen. Like it's just really listening to each other or to the other person, and or stop using words like never and always in a conversation, or say I messages, not you messages. When you like just like basic stuff, and you can learn that, and you will see. I believe you will see the results. And the other thing is, which I realized after a while, I had a lot of tough conversations because in the first months because of the food, and afterwards because of different circumstances. And I think we think too much about the situations where we did something wrong, like, and you have to put the focus on the good things. So just remember, when did you, when, like the question is, how long have you think about good situations where you did a really good job, and how long have you think about bad situations? And I think, for my personal opinion, also I'm also, I think more longer about the bad situations than the good ones. And I think you have to focus on the good ones. And when have I been good? When did I deal with a tough conversation very, very good? And why? Especially asking yourself why. And then the thing you used and the method you used, just let's say your best practice, and you establish them in your daily work, and take them, and just put them out. Because when you are in tough conversations, your brain goes to there where you have put a lot of thought in. And if it's bad situations, it will be you will be afraid, because you think, oh yeah, oh no, I cannot mess up, and the last time I said that and that and that. You have to change our brain to, like, okay, the last time I did something very good. Okay, I did that. I can use it now for this same situation. And I really want to encourage to people to, and also myself, to start thinking about when I was good, when was I good, and why, and use this. Yeah, just think about it, and I think we think about it, and use that also as a best practice, and exercise it, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, great. So what am I picking? Oh, this what you just said about I messages. You know, when you talk, you always focus on the I and not the you, right?
Yeah.
That is absolutely powerful. That is so powerful. I really like that. I mean, so just speak a little bit to that. Could you just speak a little bit to that? I mean, kind of help our audience understand what you mean with that when you say messages and not in you.
When I speak about myself, I speak about my own feelings. Like I can articulate how I feel when the situation gets really tough, and when I say you, it's already attack you, because the other person is like, you always say you will make dishes, or you always say I will clean up, you. And I think the other person feels like in the corner, and it's tough, because you probably in the end the other person will say, yeah, but you said the last time when we were going out, I will remember also bring the milk, like take the instance, yeah, the last time you forget milk, and now we're sitting here, and but then I say, yeah, but you forgot now the salt. So, and it doesn't, it's like a vicious circle. And I think I really helps to communicate, to say, okay, I feel this in this way. I'll use this a lot, and is the really good thing is using I, and also articulating emotions. But maybe like when somebody is very angry at you, that you are irritated about his behavior, like I'm irritated, and then asking a question, because you it's not about pity, about your emotions, and pity is about saying, okay, I feel this in this way, but then asking a question, and not, and especially don't use why, because why is associated with why did you come back, why did you came late, why did you bring beer, and why is a good, can be a good question, but in that case just ask, what's the reason of your behavior, why are you angry, why, what's the reason of yeah. So ask the, so say articulate, say give an emotion and ask a question, and I think it can really help. Like I use that when people were really, really aggressive against me, because I knew I can't. I was scared. I was really afraid. Sometimes I had a like really tough conversation, and the use of saying, you know what, I'm really scared that you beat me now up, was like sometimes just they looked at me and said, no, no, I don't want to beat you. I'm just a little bit aggressive. And I was like, I say, but I believe, I really believe now that you will beat me now. And and then just asking a question, what um what is the reason why, the reason for your aggression? And then sometimes it was like, he, in this one case I remember like really particularly, he was, he thought that somebody else over 27, it was the food story, got food, and that's why he was really, really angry. And he was very close to my face. He was like this, and I thought, now my nose will be gone. And just asking this question, like, I feel like this way, and then asking a question. And he said, yeah, I thought this. And I said, no, he didn't get it. He was the wrong information about from somebody else. Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is, when you're using the I, the I always, it's a way of deflecting the situation from the aggressive, from the behavior, right? You're saying, because if you go in that position, if in that moment, if you go saying, hey, you and you and you, the person feel like they're backed up into a corner, and they, but in the moment where you turn it to yourself and you go like, this makes me feel like this, you are kind of describing the situation.
Yeah.
From your perspective, it kind of helps to change the situation. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then one thing I really like about what you've just said right now is the fact that sometimes you call it out as it is, kind of call it out as it is, like you just said. You told the guy, I really am scared of it. Right?
Yep.
Is that
Right.
a technique that you normally use to kind of de-escalate the situation? Okay.
It's one of, I think you have to see the context. It doesn't work everywhere, but I like to use it, especially in where I know I'm scared. So I don't have to show off that I'm not scared when I'm scared. So, and then using that also, and yeah, it's one technique of de-escalation. Yeah.
Okay, great. What am I getting? Because every time I'm just kind of trying to have parallels, how we can use this, the learnings, your experiences in our daily life as leaders. One thing I do believe that really stands out is, in such a case when you're having a tough conversation, be present with the people involved. Be present. Don't conversation for having sake, and then you've kind of checked up a box. You say, hey, I already talked to him. But really be present and show some form of interest. Show interest, be interested.
Yeah.
And then also, I do believe that back to what you said about describing the situation, when you are trying to give a feedback, it's so important to really base the feedback on the observation, because when you start giving a feedback, this is what you did and blah, 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 blah. People get it, they can understand that wrongly. But if you always base it on the observation, you go like, okay, I did this and this and this, and based on the observation, this is what that made me feel. This is what the situation made me feel. It's always the best way of really getting people to understand that you're not really attacking, right? But you're just basically addressing the issue at hand.
Yeah.
And also addressing issues immediately, not really letting issues, not letting them just stay in the room for too long. So when you have these uncomfortable situations, especially in teams and all that, I'm always a great believer in really addressing and truthfully, as truthfully as you can. And one important aspect when it comes to really having such conversations, you could have the best conversation techniques, you could have the best intentions of de-escalating situations, but if the environment and the structure is not correct, then it's not going to go well. So we also have to be very careful on what time are we having, when are we having these conversations, and in what environment are we having as well. Right?
Like, be prepared, switch off your phone, don't do it between door in a door, don't do it from somebody else, like don't do it in the team. Always don't, because I think it's very difficult when somebody loses his face in front of other people. And so just be punctual, like I think that's all going into the willingness to understand, and also giving the other person the meaning and importance that when we have a tough conversation, then say, okay, like just take your time, and people will admire that.
Taking the time, that is such a good thing to say, taking the time for that, right? Because we are too fast, this generation, we are too fast, want to hurry stuff up, and we really need to learn to take time. So let me just see if we've gotten all this right. So you talked about being really understanding that we are all human, regardless of how complex the situation is, how angry we are, human, and there's a way that we can connect at the human level and have a civilized conversation. So that's important. And for us to be able to do that is to understand, to be very self-aware, and to understand ourselves, our own, how we take and how we feel about the situation, as to be able to deconstruct it in a way that we can be able to construct it again and while adding value to everyone in that particular situation. So you talked also about the willingness to understand, to comprehend is the key to building trust. That sentence is so powerful on its own. I mean, just as a standalone sentence, it is so powerful, because most of the time in conversation with people, we're very quick to throw in our opinions without really understanding the other person's pain. So and I believe there's really much to say to that. It's just the willingness to try somebody and really try to understand somebody, because they do mean something to you at that time. That's also important. And I believe in opportunities for you and yourself. You talked about focusing on the subject, and when you are addressing the feedback, always on your messages. This is what it makes me feel. This is how I am perceiving the situation. This is how I'm understanding it, as to be able to de-escalate a lot of situations. Have I forgotten anything?
No.
Great. Do you have any 3 tips to give the audience as we close?
I think, like the one I already said, and I think it's very important, separate the person from the behavior. This is the first one. I think this is very important, that you don't give the feeling that you don't like the person, because it really hurts. But when people understand when you are not punctual, that's a behavior, but it's not the person. So really try to separate it. And when you don't, So, and the second part is also, what is this? Forgot the Selbstbewusstsein. You know this the word? Selbstbewusstsein. Like
Confidence.
confidence. Yeah, confidence. And the second one is confidence. Do something good for yourself. Build up your confidence, because sometimes people are in positions and they also, like myself, they really, I'm not the fight type. They don't like conflicts, but just have the goal in mind that actually also, like with the bus situation, it helped to reach our goal. Like after 1 year, we had not so much discussion anymore about with older people, because everybody knew now the rule is there, and still the rule is there. I still in contact with some of them. They still the rule, and they reach the actual goal. And I think also, like, just have the goal in mind, and just work on your confidence, and do something good for yourself. And the last one is setting boundaries. And for setting boundaries, you have to know yourself and say, okay, here, this is my boundary, and I and also communicate that, and you can use that with like I said, like saying the emotion and asking a question and saying, okay, that's my boundary, stop here. And sometimes it can be very small things, like when I was giving out food, I started telling everyone they have to say please and thank you. And for me, it was a boundary of saying, okay, that gives me respect when I give out food. And I say, okay, please say thank you and say please. And it's like starting with small things, but you have to be aware of that. Setting your own, I think this 3 principles can already start helping you deal with tough conversations.
Okay, so you talk about separate the topic from the person, understand the topic and the person, those are 2 different things, and then confident and set boundaries as well, right? And what I throw in is conflicts or difficult conversations are not something that we should shy away from. This is really, these are things, these are situations we can learn from. We can learn. There's such a huge growth curve that comes with mastering a difficult situation, a difficult conversation, going through it successfully. So I would really encourage you to lean into these conversations. Use a few that Sebastian has given us today, and really a lot of golden nuggets in the conversation. So I hope you are taking notes and use the tips that he has given us, and in conversations. There is this saying from a Christian Kwame says, tough, beautiful things are always on the other side of the conversation. So don't shy away from them, and all the best. So thank you for being there today. And Sebastian, it's been a pleasure sharing with you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for listening.
You're welcome.